Habilitat was founded in 1971, so we've been in operation now for 47 years. It was founded by a guy named Vinnie Marino, who was from New York. He was an Italian guy, and he had been in several programs himself. He was a former addict, and he found that he was a little bit ahead of his time. He found that long-term treatment seemed to work a whole lot better than short-term treatment, and he had this vision of creating a program that would treat the whole person, not just the addiction. So unfortunately, he passed away in 2000, but he had taught enough people about this model and trained enough people that the program has continued on and is still every bit as successful as it always was. Our approach to drug and alcohol treatment, is that the actual use of substance is not the problem, but rather a symptom of a great many other problems. So anybody that comes to Habilitat, we're going to start to address all the issues that created the addiction to begin with. And not every person that comes to Habilitat is the same. There's been this trend in the industry of addiction treatment that it's one size fits all. Everybody gets the same treatment. And that's a bit short-sighted as far as we're concerned. The trend, in the last couple decades is these 30-day treatment programs. And the reality is it took a lot longer than 30 days to become, an addict. And in the vast majority of cases, it's going to take a lot longer than 30 days to overcome an addiction. So Habilitat is a multi-level program. Somebody that comes into our program would spend about 6 months or so in intensive treatment. And then after the treatment, they're going to be placed into a vocational training program where their treatment will continue, but now we're going to start to emphasize returning to society. And then, of course, at the end of the program, we have several months that are dedicated just to the transition. The program's about 28 months long. It's a live-in experience. It's all residential treatment. We have a very nice facility in Kaneohe, Hawaii, right on Kaneohe Bay on the island of Oahu. It's a nice place to come get your act together, but it's certainly, it's not a resort. So sometimes people hear Hawaii or they see pictures of our facility and they think, oh, that must be one of those celebrity rehabs or whatever, and it's certainly not that. Although we have treated some celebrities in the past, the vast majority of the people that come here are people that have tried everything else. They've been to multiple other programs, short-term programs, and have had very little success. And they eventually end up coming here, and then we're going to meet them where they are and treat the whole person. Most recently, we've seen a real influx in people that are struggling with, the deadly opiate addictions. It's killing people all over the country. And actually, ironically, Habilitat was kind of founded by a heroin addict for heroin addicts. And of course, through the years, we've evolved to be able to treat any kind of addiction. We do use evidence-based techniques. Most of our staff are actually byproducts of the program, so they've been through the program, they know what it's like, and they've gone on to receive specialized training to become part of the staff here. And as a result of that, people that come into our program, we connect with them on a level that, say, a doctor or a social worker that has never been through addiction. We connect in a way that those people can't. We have a population of about 100 people. Vinnie Marino's emphasis was always on quality, not quantity. In fact, throughout his life, he had offers to open other Habilitat programs in several different places in the world, quite a few different states in the United States and in several other countries. But he declined. He declined because he was really proud of the fact that each and every resident that came here was going to get really high quality treatment. And he was really kind of afraid that if it got really big, that we would lose that personal touch and the quality of care. Obviously, one of the things that he was real big about is that we had to keep learning. We were to become perpetual students, those of us that work here. And so as a result, the program is always evolving. We're always looking at new methods. We're always looking to train in the newest evidence-based techniques. And we use the therapeutic community model, which has for a it's not a new model, it's a very old model, but for a very long time, it has been one of the better models for treating long-term addiction. 47 years now, we've been basically operating with pretty much the same core values. And there's literally thousands of people all over the country whose lives are now pretty much normal. They're normal people. They have good jobs. They raise families. They build houses. They do everything that a normal person would do. And that's really our goal, is to take people that have lost control of their life because of the choices they made behind addiction, and try and teach people how to live beyond addiction. Vinny always said that we motivate the unmotivated. We take people that have lost sight of their direction in life, and we provide them with an avenue back to being happy, a member of our society. If you come to Hawaii, many of the companies here have Habilitat graduates now running them. You'd be hard pressed to find an industry that our graduates have not gone into and become successful. Habilitat, when we consider somebody a success, we're going to track someone for 5 years after the program. So when we say Habilitat has about a 63-64% success rate, we're tracking back for 5 years, and those people that graduated from 5 years ago, right now, 64% of them are clean and sober. They are employed. They've not been rearrested, no recidivism, and they're positively involved in their community. So there's some very clear tests there for what we consider success. We don't consider people successful just because they complete our program. They have to go out and live their life and show that they've learned what they needed to learn here. So we do have a follow-up study that happens for 5 years. We've found through the years that usually if people are going to mess up, it's going to happen, most of them within the first few months, certainly within the first 2 years. If they make it to the 5-year mark, looking back over several decades, the ones that make it that far, usually they're okay after that. So that's how we gauge our success. It's not magic. Our success is not some magic thing. The reality is that Habilitat's a lot longer than most treatment programs. We can accomplish a whole lot more in 2 years than anybody ever could in 30 days. And as a result, we're able to teach people a whole lot of things that go far beyond just addiction, and teach people how to have meaningful lives. We teach lots of skills. Of course, obviously we teach people not to use drugs and alcohol, and in doing so we have to provide them with alternative coping skills, and that does take some time. But we also teach people how to figure out what they're about, how to figure out what makes them tick, what makes them happy. We're going to teach them some job skills. If they have children, we have parenting classes. If they've never had a job, then we're going to have to teach them how to interview for a job. A lot of people say that it's rehabilitation, but in a lot of cases it's actually habilitation. We're teaching people some of these things for the very first time. And the goal obviously is to make sure that somebody has all the skills and practiced those skills, mastered those skills before they leave here, so that when they return to society, they are prepared. They're prepared for what life's going to bring. They're prepared to take care of their families. They're prepared for a life as a normal citizen. And the reality is a lot of people play games with the numbers. They'll say, oh, we have a 80% success rate, and we'll define success, because some of those programs that say that, their success is that people finish the program. Well, that's not success. Success is, what are they doing 5 years after it's done? Have they remained abstinent? Have they been employed? Have they been a good member of their family? And these kind of things. So statistics are kind of a funny thing, although we do have a very high success rate. A number of years ago, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, it's a federal program, did a study on Habilitat, and they found that Habilitat's success rate was 3 times the national average. Now, I'll be honest, right now I don't know what the national average is, but it's pretty dismal. Habilitat has about a 63% success rate at this time. Of course, it deviates a few points from year to year. I think the most important thing that we give people when they get here initially is hope. Because anybody that has struggled with an addiction for a long time, especially if they've been in and out of different short-term programs, they've almost got to the point where they don't have a lot of hope that they can recover. And then when they get here and then they start to see with their own eyes, they can intellectually understand that there are those of us that have overcome our addiction. We are no longer hindered by the cravings. We are no longer involved with problems with the law. We have jobs, we have homes, we have families, and they see that and they know that we've been there and done that, and we provide them with hope. Well, I think that's probably the first important thing that we give them. And then as they move through the program, we start to help them understand what they're capable of. We're going to focus on their good qualities and try to help them learn to capitalize on those. And then of course we're going to try and help them solve some of the problems associated with maybe their not so good qualities. But we're going to provide them with information about themselves that they probably never knew. And again, that leads to more hope, obviously. And I think one of the big things that's very different about Habilitat is we're not just teaching about addiction. In fact, there's very little to do with actual drug use or the talking of drug use here. We spend our time teaching people about different coping skills, about job skills, work ethic, morals, values. You know, the whole program of Habilitat is basically, it's based on hard work and family values. And as a result, we teach people how to have a balanced life. We work hard, we play hard, we learn hard. And we found through observing happy and productive people in the world that most productive people are going to have those 3 elements. They're going to, they're going to work hard, play hard, and learn hard. As people go through our program, we realized a long time ago that in a lot of cases, people that have become involved with addiction, maybe they haven't kept up with their education. So anybody that comes here that didn't finish high school, they're automatically going to be enrolled in one of our high school or GED programs. And then we're going to help them get their diploma so they have a place to start. And as they go through the program, we're going to provide them with marketable skills that translate into a living wage. It's not, as far as we're concerned, it's not enough to just get clean and sober. We have to place people on a path to success. And we're very proud of the fact that 100% of our graduates are gainfully employed and in stable housing prior to leaving our program. And there's not a whole lot of programs in our country that can make that claim, but we do so very proudly. And it's because we put a lot of emphasis on making sure that the person is ready, making sure that they have the correct plan and that they have the skills necessary to put that plan into action. Unfortunately, as prominent as the addiction problem has become in America, there are quite a few people out there that are looking to capitalize on the backs of some of the most desperate people at the most desperate times in their lives. There's all these referral hotlines that pay, people are paying for referrals into different programs, and some of these programs cost, tens of thousands, $30,000, $40,000 for, 21-day to a 30-day stay. And, the reality is that not all programs are created equal. There are some places that claim that they're programs, and when you look into it, they may look nice, they may sound nice, but there's really no treatment that's going on in some of these programs. I think it's important for people to understand that Habilitat is a licensed program. We've been licensed for 40 some odd years, licensed through the state of Hawaii's health department, and I think the fact that we've been around for 47 years kind of speaks volumes. We're obviously doing something right. I think when people are looking at getting help for their loved one, they need to look beyond the fancy commercials. They need to look into whether the place is licensed. They need to look and see, well, how long has the place been around? We've seen hundreds of programs come and go through the years. Sometimes they come and go because they don't have the funding. Sometimes they come and go because they just weren't very good at what they did. I really believe wholeheartedly, after being here 21 years, that we're doing really good work here, and we're doing work that's quite a bit different than the run-of-the-mill type of treatment program. We're providing people with a way out, and there's thousands of Habilitat graduates that can attest to the fact that the experience here changed their life. We like to say that Habilitat is a recovery community. It's the people that come here, they're not patients. This is not a medical approach, it's a behavioral approach. We use evidence-based techniques to change behaviors and attitudes. And people come here really mixed up in their heads, but by the time they leave, they know where they're going. They know what they're capable of, and they're committed to making something happen for themselves. So. It's no secret that Habilitat has a better success rate than most of the programs in the country. I think the reason is, well, there's several reasons. The program's long. It's 28 months long. It's not 30 days. Some of the people that end up here, 30 days, at 30 days, their brain chemistry is not even back to normal. We're still seeing the effects of the drug use at 30 days. So one of the things is it's long term. Another thing is that we're not going to just treat an addiction, we're treating the whole person. And we're going to go far beyond just abstinence from substances. We're going to provide them with the skills necessary to navigate the world, how to deal with problems, how to get a job, in some cases how to raise their children. Whatever the person needs, we have to identify those needs and then provide the services or the training for them to be able to deal with those things. Habilitat is different in the sense that it's not a medical model. It's different in the sense that we're not treating people with psychotropic drugs. We have 100 and some odd people here, and not a single one of them is on any psychotropic drugs. So it's a strictly behavioral approach, which has proven to be very effective, especially for people who've tried everything else to no avail. The fact that we incorporate the vocational training aspect is a huge thing. The reality is, most successful people are going to spend about a third of their lives on their career. So we have multiple different programs where we do training to provide people with the skills necessary in several different industries. I mean, we have a full-blown construction company. We teach basically everything except electrical. We don't do that type of work, but we teach the skills and put them out on the job so that they learn the practical skills, and when they leave here, they get hired because they have the skills. We also have a sales team and administration and medical assistant. We have a really extensive culinary training program. In fact, if you were to go to, there's quite a few hotels in the state of Hawaii where the kitchens are staffed with Habilitat graduates that learned their skills here. So I think there's quite a few things that make Habilitat different than most programs. Our location is very beautiful. Hawaii, let's face it, Hawaii is a nice place to come get your act together. Although it's not a resort. There's nobody over here kicking back in the sun and playing on the beach every day. Although we do have beach outings, but it's not a resort type thing. We work hard, we play hard, we learn hard. Unfortunately, a lot of the programming that goes on around the country has to do with getting people to stop using drugs. Our philosophy is a little bit different. Yes, the drugs are a problem. Yes, it's a health risk. Yes, you can die from it. You can become incarcerated. But the reality is what happens after they stop using the drugs. What we found is that we bring people in, and they're off the drugs when they get here because there's no drugs here. But then what we start to see is the reason, or the reasons, plural, for the addiction to begin with. See, using drugs it's become a coping skill for most people. And the drugs are an escape. They're an escape from a great many things, and there's a lot of things that people are trying to escape from. In most cases, it's feelings. We have noticed that there's a lot of adverse childhood experiences that people never dealt with, and they, somewhere along the line, they learn to use the substances to escape from the way that they feel. So when we bring people into Habilitat, the drug issue's done because there's no drugs here, but then we start to address all those other problems. In some cases, there are childhood abuses, childhood traumas, and in some cases, they came from families that had addiction issues. There's a great many things that create the addiction. So obviously, since we have them for 28 to 30 months, we have a lot more time to address these things. And it's been our experience that it's not always best to dive into these really difficult things when they first get here. It's our approach. We're gonna bring them in and start to build a foundation, and we're gonna make them feel capable. And we're going to start to teach them some skills. And when they reach a point where they're ready to start to address some of those deeper issues, then we're here to help them through that. And we use quite a few different techniques to help with that. So when people come here, they think they're coming to deal with an addiction, but really what's happening is we're going to deal with the whole person and whatever circumstances that may be. We do get people that have been in the criminal justice system, and that comes with its own unique challenges, how to get out of that system, how to stay out of that system. We have had people who their addiction led them to lose custody of their children. And in a lot of cases, we're going to work to try and help get their children back for them. We have lots of people that come here that, they've never had a good job. They don't have any job skills. These things are all important in helping people to feel good about who they are. Almost to a person, you can almost guarantee that anybody that ends up at Habilitat is going to have self-esteem issues. They're going to lack confidence. They make poor choices in life. And we're going to put them through a very rigorous training program that's going to teach them how to feel good about themselves. It's going to teach them how to see themselves as a winner instead of a loser. And we're going to provide them with the things they need to go out and excel in life. It's remarkable to me that people that are in a desperate situation, say their kid, their husband, their wife, whatever, brother, sister, is using drugs, and there's death and dying happening all around them. Maybe they're in and out of jail, and they try to put people into a program, and then they go to one of these programs and then get out, and the same thing happens. Well, at some point, you've got to recognize that doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results, at some point you might want to try something different. I tell people all the time, any treatment is better than no treatment. But if you've tried different approaches on multiple times and are not getting results, then at some point it's time to start thinking about long-term treatment. There are some long-term treatment options in the United States, although because most programs have become driven by third-party payment, basically insurance dictates the length of stay. And at Habilitat, we're very different. We don't accept insurance. You don't have to have insurance to get in here, and you don't have to have a gazillion dollars to become a resident at Habilitat. Really, what we're most concerned with is a sincere desire and a sincere desire to change and a commitment to go through the process. And we can almost always find a way to get somebody help, even if they don't have a gazillion dollars. I'm very proud of the fact that we have people from all over the country that come here. And they come, they stay, they go through the program, they learn what we have to learn, and eventually they go back home and they take their rightful place in their families, in their community, or whatever. So if you know somebody that's having a problem with addiction, get help.